Welcome to Conversations from the Edge of Consciousness. I'm your host, Christine Madera. For me, and possibly for you, the inner world of consciousness has always been much more real and way more fun than the so-called real material world. Growing up, I thought I was alone in this, but I'm not. There are a lot of us, and far too many have no one to talk to who shares this experience. I've been lucky to cultivate a community of friends who love to talk about the energies, ideas, and vibrations that are pushing the edges of our own consciousness, as well as our collective consciousness. In Conversations from the Edge, we share our conversations with you. Welcome to Conversations from the Edge. This is your host, Christine Madera, and we are back with Joshua Bloom. And Joshua is the #1 best-selling author of The Ultimate Answer is Inside and has a movie by the same name. He's also the host of the internet TV show Emotionally Free TV and an internationally acclaimed authority on quantum transformation. Joshua developed quantum energy transformation, which is an innovative fusion of science and spirituality that really serves as a roadmap to release even hard-to-treat ailments like fibromyalgia, pain, anxiety, depression, allergies, eczema, and other things, and not just by relieving symptoms, but by creating permanent positive change and personal transformation that lasts. So this modality also helps empaths, intuitives, energy workers, and everybody else to access the quantum field and its landscape of possibility. And that helps to align them with their spiritual purpose and to fully embody their life force. It's really very cool. So welcome back, Joshua. It's great to have you back.
Thank you for having me back. I'm really excited about our conversation today.
Yes, me too. And, it's interesting because so often in our society right now, and even in the healing work that's happening in our society right now, everything is focused on beliefs and on what you believe. And so transformation is often thought of as releasing old beliefs and, coming into new beliefs. And then there's so much of society as well that's focused on like your value is based on what you believe in. We're really caught up in this level of beliefs. And when you do transformation and when you talk about living on the quantum level, it's really about the level of identity rather than beliefs. But you have a different way of explaining identity than what is often thought of. So can you explain what identity is and how we work at that level to really make shifts that bypass like the whole forest of beliefs?
Absolutely. Well, let's start with beliefs, because when we think about beliefs, we think about this idea that I believe something. Mm-hmm. Now, beliefs can be changed relatively easy, actually. Mm-hmm. And what's powerful about that is you can get somebody that somebody admires, and you can have them say something, and then they'll adopt that belief because they love that person. And they'll go, oh, wow, this person said it. Can you believe that? So it must be true. Right.
Oh, of course, yes.
It must be true. I love that person. And so there you go. We just changed someone's belief. Uh-huh. The problem with that is that it can change back so easily. So now that person gets in trouble and goes to jail. And they're like, oh, God, now I hate that person. Oh, no. Now my belief has changed because they must not have been right.
Right, yeah.
So how easy beliefs can be changed either one way or another. And beliefs are not what's true. Beliefs are what you just hold to believe at this moment. You may find out later on that something else is more true for you, and therefore you have a different belief because you've learned something new. Mm-hmm. So just simply by learning something new, your beliefs can change. Now, I can't say the same for identity, because who you are is like set, okay? Who you are is who you are. And because that is such a strong set of variables that are put into place and are basically locked in, who you are is basically your identity. And when you work at the level of beliefs, those can be changed relatively easy, but the identity can't be changed as easily because it's at a higher level of energy. And when we work at the higher levels of energy, such as identity, spirituality, purpose, when we work at these levels,
Mm-hmm.
What ends up happening is those levels are the changing points for everything else underneath it, which includes beliefs and strategies and all sorts of things. What you do, what you think, all that stuff is all underneath. So if you simply change your identity, for example, then everything will change and you can become a person who no longer requires whatever the problem is, for example. So let's say somebody has anxiety, which, I had anxiety for a long time. I had anxiety for 10 years at least, and I suffered. Oh, man, did I suffer. I was feeling so helpless and out of control and alone, and all sorts of scary thoughts were going through my mind. It was a trying time, to say the least. And so now I'm not the same person. That's because my identity shifted. Who I am is not a person who's in fear anymore.
Okay.
I'm not a person who's anxious anymore. But I didn't change it at the level of beliefs, because if I believed for a moment that I wasn't anxious, and then someone proved me wrong or I proved myself wrong, then I'm going to be anxious really quick, you see?
Yeah.
But if I shift my identity, and which is a much stronger change, then it'll be very difficult to change it back unless I know how to do it. And in quantum energy transformation, that's what I teach people how to do, to shift your identity so that you become a person who no longer requires the issues and problems and lifestyle and things you don't like in your life, and you can choose different ways of living your life.
Well, and that's why it's so successful. And it's interesting because you explain this in your book that, a lot of times our modalities or our strategies or, different kinds of systems that work on small things are like working on the branches of the tree, where when you're able to go into the level of identity and energy and the quantum field level, you're able to change everything from the trunk of the tree all the way out to all of the branches at the same time. And so it's like this wholesale shift and change that is like instantaneous, and everything kind of cascades along with that initial change. And I've experienced that in different ways, and it really is, as long as you allow it to happen, it's amazing how quickly it can completely alter who you are and how you experience yourself and how you experience your life.
Absolutely. I'm really not into struggle.
Yeah, me either.
I did that. I know, right? I did that for a long time, many years ago. Struggled a whole lot and learned that wasn't it for me.
Yeah.
So struggle is when you have to deal with so many things. Think about all the things you don't know about what happened when you were 3. There are a billion things that happened when you were 3 that you don't remember, or 4 or 5. You might start remembering around that age, maybe 6 or 7. But there's so many things that have happened when we didn't have language. There's so many things that that have happened that we don't remember, even that happened, a couple of days ago. Many people don't even remember what they had for lunch. So, so the key to understand this is if we're having to deal with so many branches on that tree, one at a time. I mean, how many branches do you think there could be if you have anxiety?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know, 2 million, 5 million? I mean, a billion million maybe. I'm just kind of kidding there, but there are really a lot of branches. And if I've got to do it one at a time, even if there's 1,000, if I got to do one at a time, that is going to take a very long time. And I do not have that kind of patience.
No,
I'm patient with people, but when it comes to transformation, I really want to see something happen.
Fast. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, we got one aspect. Okay, great. How many more aspects are there? Well, there's that many. I'm like, okay, never mind. We could stop now. I'm not going to get to that many. It's going to take too long. And that's why I created quantum energy transformation, was because most everything else was so slow. It took so long for the change to happen that I was so frustrated in what was going on that I wasn't moving forward, and it was really rough. So instead of that, I said, I need something that works now. That's why I got into the quantum. I said, in quantum, there is no time in the quantum field, so I can do everything now. In quantum, all aspects can be handled at the same time. Wow, that's excellent. So I don't have to go and do one aspect at a time, because that's just a lot of struggle, and I'm not into that.
No,
some people are into struggle. I get it. That's not me.
Well, and at the level of beliefs, oftentimes, it's not just about the single belief itself. There's beliefs that contradict one another. So if you work on one, then it triggers the other. And like oftentimes there's multiple ones connected and they're all in some form of contradiction, and it just becomes a big like mess. So it's hard to really untangle that. And then there's something that you said, when you talk about this as a tree, that when you think about the fractals in the quantum in quantum theory, quantum field, if you look at the trunk of the tree and then you look at the branches of the tree, the branches are all grow from the trunk in fractals. Like that's how the tree grows. And so when you come to the base of the tree and you make that shift, it shifts all the fractals coming out from the base of that tree. And so it makes total sense on like a quantum level that making that one initial shift ripples through at the fractal level everything else that's connected to it.
I love that you said ripples, because that's exactly how it is. It's like the seashore. If you go to the beach and you watch the water rippling in and then going out and then rippling in some more and then going out and rippling in some more. Those are the kinds of waves that we're literally dealing with in quantum. And the power of those waves that are moving, that one wave affects the next, affects the next, affects the next, is exactly what happens in the quantum field. But it happens instantly, so that you don't have to wait for all the waves to get there, because the waves move so fast. Especially, they move fast when you're out of your head and in your body, fully connected to yourself in your beingness. When you're really being and you're really in your strength, you have this sense of safety, a sense of connection, a sense of openness, a sense of beingness. And in that connection, because so many of us feel disconnected, but in this connection in the quantum field, you can make changes simply by opening up and allowing those changes to happen and moving the energy at the cellular level of the body to create that change. And that sounds like a lot of complicated stuff, but it's so simple. In our last call, we talked about putting your attention at the base of your spine. It's so simple, but it works. And I'm a big believer that the simple things work. There's nothing complicated that I do, except for explain all this. That might be complicated, but the experience of it is really easy. It's like, it's easier to actually just experience it than it is for me to explain it, because there's lots of details and science and all that to it. But when you think about quantum and you just simply get connected instantly, and you just allow the energy to shift, because it's about allowing and moving that energy, and show you how to do that. It's so simple. When you do it, you feel better. Yeah. And imagine that every time you engage, you feel better and better and better and better and better and better and better. It's like, wow, why wouldn't you want to do that, right? It just feels so good.
Yeah,
it's like going for a massage.
Oh my gosh, don't talk to me about massage. We've been under lockdown. I haven't been able to get a massage in a year. All right.
I know.
And I've been self-massaging, me and my foam roller. It's not quite the same. So the other thing I really like about the quantum, and this kind of, people get all caught up in this, is it when you're operating at that level of cellular shift at that quantum level, because it's outside of the level of belief, it's above the level of belief. When you're working on that level of identity, you don't have to believe that it's going to work for it to work. And that kind of trips people up, because, we're still caught up in beliefs and what they allow us to do. So explain that a little bit. Like, even people who don't believe it's going to work, that they have the experience of it working.
I love this one. This is truly one of my favorite discussion points in the world, because Whether it's the law of attraction or anything else, everybody says, well, you've got to believe to achieve, or you got to believe it for it to work. And none of that is true in the quantum field. Mm-hmm. And here's the truth. I have never, ever in my entire life met a client who believed that they were going to start something and actually achieve it. They thought it might be possible, that might happen for somebody else and maybe for them. Mm-hmm. This is like reality here, okay?
Yeah, totally.
People don't believe that they're going to shift. They might want to and think that I would be willing to try it to see if I can. See all these words that I'm using purposefully here? Because that's truly how people feel, including myself. I was debilitated in fear, in anxiety for at least 10 years. Mm-hmm. And when I was in that experience, not one time did I ever believe that I was going to change, that I was going to shift this anxiety. Even after I helped other people do it, I still said to myself, well, they were able to do it, sure, but not me. Mm-hmm. So I really kept myself locked in prison of this anxiety really well. It was kind of this closed loop, right, of everybody else can change but me. So I had to examine that for myself. But truthfully, I did not believe that I was going to change, and most of all my clients don't believe they're going to change either, but they really hope that they will. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. If everybody is thinking but not believing, then if it wouldn't work because they didn't believe, then nothing would ever change for anybody.
Right.
But the thing is that it does work, and it's very simple. And the reason that you don't need to believe is because we don't work at the level of beliefs. We work at the level of possibility.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that people can really get to. They may not believe that they can change, but they may think it's possible. That's a very different thought process. And that's true. I thought it was possible that I could change, but I didn't believe it. Until, wow, there it was. I changed. Right? Like, there it is. So you don't have to believe that it will shift or change or that you'll heal or transform. You don't have to believe that. And it's fine that you don't, because I actually think that's kind of normal, okay? But if you can consider the possibility that you can shift, and because we're working at that higher level of possibility in the quantum field, all possibilities are available to you. When you move the energy and your intelligent body chooses a possibility that works better for you, and now you're like, wow, that feels a lot better. Yeah, you become a person who no longer requires that problem. And you didn't have to believe it to get there. You just needed to consider, not even know it was possible, just consider that it's possible, because just considering the possibility is enough of the energy that you require to move the energy in the body to create the transformation. And I'm so happy that you don't have to believe it, because I never, ever would have changed then, because never did I ever believe that I could have changed until I actually changed it. And most of my clients, if not all of them, are exactly the same way. It was like, oh my God, this happened. I can't believe it. It's not like, oh my God, I expected that to happen. Who says I never had a client say that to me? Oh yeah, I thought this was going to change instantly. I knew that. No, I don't think that's reality. I think reality is people are like, yeah, I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. That's reality.
Well, and part of what you're talking about here with this shift at the identity level. So there's the willingness to change and I think that really is key, because if you're unwilling to change, I don't know how that works if you're able to really access it for any length of time, or if that does actually shut it down. In fact, why don't you speak to that? If people are unwilling to change, if they're either in that protection mode, which we talked about last time, or they're just unwilling to change. And I've come across clients who were unwilling to change. And it was really difficult to work with them. Does that interfere with either having the experience of that change or being able to maintain that experience?
Well, if you're in protection, it is possible for you to change because the very first thing we do is get you into growth. So in quantum energy transformation, we get into growth first and then we transform. So we know that from what Dr. Bruce Lipton says is that if you're in protection, you can't transform, and if you're in growth, you can. So we instantly do that. But then there are clients, usually it's their parents that bring me their either real children or adult children, and they say, "Fix my child for me, please." Usually that's when I get the person who's unwilling to change. So I talk to the parent usually and say, is this person, is your son or daughter in alignment with wanting to change this? And sometimes they tell me the truth, and sometimes they don't. But the idea here is a lot of times they're not in alignment. They don't want to change because someone's trying to make them change. And I take a very different approach, because I've had this happen, a million times, where I would sit in front of somebody who doesn't want to change, and I would ask them. I said, "Is this something that you truly want? Are you interested in creating a new version of yourself that is easier, has an easier life, an easier way of being, a happier person? Would that be interesting to you?" And if it's not interesting to them, they have no energy. What we call that is zero fire energy. You need fire energy in order to create a transformation. Without fire energy, nothing changes. It's impossible to get a change if you don't have any fire. So so that's why people with depression is so difficult. Depression is considered an incurable illness because they have so little fire in them that so they don't have a lot of energy. They don't have a lot of fire energy to make a change because there is such an apathy, right?
Yeah.
So the power of fire energy, so anxiety is a great thing to have because you got a lot of fire going on. Like this is a person that has extra supersized fire, right?
Right.
So easier to work with somebody in that way because they have lots of fire. So it's really powerful to realize how the body works and what we can do to shift in the quantum field. And yes, you can certainly help people with depression, and they can get some fire and then shift, which is one of the things that I work with people on, is getting them to be connected. The reason that they're so apathetic and feel so depressed is that they've disconnected from themselves, from others, and everyone else in their life. And when you're disconnected, you can't have fire, you can't have anything because you're not even connected to the system anymore. You're sort of like you've logged out of the system. So we get them to log back in, remember their password and their username and all that stuff, and we get them back into their system, into their body, and then there's my fire, and then we can change it. But just because somebody has a lack of fire doesn't mean that they don't want to change. And there are people that just don't want to change. And those are the people that I say, listen, it's totally okay with me if you don't want to change. But if you do, I'm going to jump into the journey with you. And if you don't want to change, I get it. I live from a perspective of no rules. I honor someone for choosing who they want to be and how they want to live. It's their choice. And if you don't want the journey, I get it. I totally get it. But I'm certainly not going to spend time engaging when you're not going to, right? I'm not going to jump into a journey that I know is not going to be successful.
Right, because some people are just really attached to their identity and they don't want that to change. They want to hold on to that familiar identity and, for all that it's worth, even if it's misery. So oftentimes in this whole journey of evolution and healing, we talk about releasing beliefs, releasing old energies, releasing things that don't work. It's all about release. And one of the things I loved about shifting at the quantum level is that you also talk about embodying higher energies. And that's kind of how you shift that identity, and take these big little quantum leaps of identity by not just letting go of things that are not working for you, but by, choosing that energy that you want to embody and inviting your body to embody it, or however that works. So how does that work at that quantum level as well? Because that was really exciting to me.
Yeah, well, when we are in the quantum field, remember, quantum is the study of possibilities, right? When you think about quantum physics, it's a study of possibility. And when we are in the possibilities, we can grab those possibilities and bring them into our reality so that our reality becomes different because we've considered something new. It's an open system versus a closed system. So you're opening up to possibilities, and possibilities are infinite. They're in your, energy system, or within your energy system, but they're also outside of your energy system if you're not aware of the possibilities. Your possibilities shut down when you're in your head. So just a simple act of being in your mind, thinking from a linear point of view, your possibilities shut down. You don't have any possibilities, so you stay the same. That is just the way that it works. But when you consider the possibilities, because you get out of your head and into your body, when you consider the possibilities at this point, you could actually pick and choose. You can say, wow, I have this problem, I don't want it, and I choose something else that's better in a higher energy level. So when we work at the higher energy levels, we're working at levels that allow us to open to even more goodness, something that's greater and bigger than ourselves. And when we are in that, we call that spirituality, right? So when we're in that spiritual place, that spiritual energy, it's just amazing what happens. Miracles happen in that energy. I was working with a client the other day, and she had a big problem with work. She's a waitress, and she was having some issues at work. And she was getting into a little scuffle, I guess, with one of the middle management managers. And, the middle management manager wanted what she wanted and didn't really care about what my client was saying or doing or anything like that. And so she was yelling at her. And she was telling her she was stealing stuff and all kinds of untruths that she was saying because she made assumptions without really knowing the truth. So this middle management person was angry. So anyway, the next step was going to be that the bigger manager, the higher manager, and the middle manager was going to meet with my client. Okay? They were going to meet and have a powwow, so to speak. And you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Not well. Not well. That's like heading for disaster, right?
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen? The middle manager is going to say, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't say that, or whatever it was going to be. And, of course, that was going to put my client into fight or flight, right? And then my client is not going to be able to say anything because they forgot everything they said, because when you're in fight or flight, your blood leaves your forehead and goes to your hindbrain. And now you just have no blood in your head to think. So it's a downhill situation.
It is.
What ended up happening was I said, well, let's move the energy about these people and the conversation that you're going to have and all that. So we moved the energy together, and I brought her to a place she's never, ever experienced before. It was a place of enlightenment where she said, do people really live at this level? I mean, that was the question. She said, this is like great. Like, how do you get to this level, and how do you stay here? So she's staying there now, which is really cool. And the power of this transformation that we did together was when she went into work next, there was no such thing as a meeting. It vanished. It was like the meeting vanished. Everything was balanced. There was no issue anymore. The issue had been resolved, not by her personally, but by the transformation we did. So she went into work. She was thinking she was going to have this powwow that was not going to go well, and it didn't. It didn't happen, and there was no discussion of it. And the middle manager person was like, "Hi, how are you? I'm glad that you're here." It was like all happy to see her. It's like that's like weird. like that was like reality changed.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Yes, we went into the quantum field and literally changed reality from what it was, which was going to be this powwow that was going to lead to maybe even her being let go from the job, to now it not being in non-existence and everything being balanced. So that's a powerful perspective. if you can realize that we can change and shift things in the field. Now, remember, I said in my last call that all the fields are connected.
Right.
And when you connect to one field, you connect to all the fields instantly. So imagine that, I said as well that there's other fields, like the universe has a field and the world has a field and everything has a field around it. And whatever's in the field is affected by the field itself. So when you change the field, which is what we did, we changed the field itself by moving the energy at the cellular level of the body to create a change of this person's way of being. Everybody reacted, responded to her differently, and the situation even changed. Wow. So now they just have a different experience of this woman who is just so delightful because she's now at this really high frequency, and you can't not be delightful when you're at a really, really high frequency.
Oh, totally. That's so cool. So is it possible we'll see how we can do this. Is it possible to lead us through something similar to that? Maybe not, it's specific to her, but maybe into what it feels like to flow with the unknown of change. Because right now, even if it's, we're changing our identity, obviously, but we're in a time where everything is changing in ways that we can't even really understand what's on the other side of change. And that triggers fight or flight in a lot of people, or shut down or lockdown, or, protection, or trying to go back to the way things used to be, or in some other way being uncomfortable with change. But what if we were all able to, who were listening to this, we're all able to embody what it feels like to relax with and flow with the changes that come to us in our everyday life and in our world. Is that possible?
Absolutely. Let me tell you what I think I can do that will be really awesome.
Okay, yes.
So the best energy to be in is when you are excited and relaxed at the same time.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Now, most people have not experienced this before because either they're excited or they're relaxed. there is no both at the same time usually, right?
Yeah.
Because we're excited about something and we're in our head, and when we're relaxed, we're still in our head. Okay, so we're going to change all that right now, and we're going to do an exercise that works best when you're standing. So stand up,
all right,
and we're going to get into this energy place where we're going to do a lot of things at the same time. So first of all, the bones in your body will move. Literally, the bones in your body will physically move from this exercise. It will feel like you've had a chiropractic adjustment. And you're going to feel at the end of the exercise as if you are in this really beautiful energy that's relaxing, but yet you're excited and confident at the same time. So this is a great thing to do before you go and speak in front of an audience, or maybe when you're going to go and see a client, just to get into a really good place. And it's a place of beingness, but it's also a place of being very connected. And the way that we get connected first is we put our awareness under our feet. I kind of look at it as stepping on our awareness. And it's okay to do that. In this case, stepping on things usually isn't good, but in this case, step on your awareness. Anyway, in other words, you're going to be feeling your feet or your shoes touching the floor, and it's easy to tell that because you're standing on them. So just simply feel your feet touching the floor and keep your awareness there throughout the entire exercise. Cool?
Okay.
All right, great. We're going to do two different things that is really important to learn before we go ahead and do this. One is breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth with noise. That breath is called a nose-mouth breath. I'm sure you're not surprised. And so I told you I do the simple things, right? Okay, so when we do that breath, we're doing a lot. We're actually activating our meridians in a very specific way that allows your governing and central meridians to strengthen. And when they strengthen, it actually builds confidence in your energy system. So just that breath alone does that. So we're doing more than just that, but just that one breath does that. That's so cool. The next breath we're going to do is called a candle breath. I usually like to use my arms, lifting my arms above my head, and then blowing out as hard as I can, as if I were blowing candles out on a birthday cake. Right. The harder you do it, the better, because you're trying to really get those candles to blow out. And we're going to do at least 10 of them. And then we're going to go back to the nose-mouth breath. And the whole time, you're keeping your awareness under your feet. Now, I promise you, if you do this, if you keep your awareness under your feet and go through the breath with me and follow what I ask you to do, you will have those sensations and feelings and experiences that I just stated. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's do this as an experiment. So put your awareness under your feet. Basically, feel your feet touching the floor is all you need to do.
Okay.
And then just start breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just keep breathing that way with your awareness under your feet. Take your hands out to the sides above your head and push down right in front of your face, right in front of your body. Push it down, push that energy down and breathe. So you're going to breathe in and push down and breathe out. And do that again. And again. And again. Good. You can relax your hands and just breathe. Keeping your awareness under your feet. Just breathe a little faster. Follow my breathing. Open your auric field. Just push your aura out so that you are opening yourself up to the room. Allow yourself to be as big as the room with your energy. Keep breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, making yourself bigger. As large as your room is, your energy is just out there. Feel as if you are in every possible position in this room. Yeah, you're not just where you're standing, but you're everywhere in this room. Feel what that feels like, that space feels like if you were just everywhere. And breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth still. And we're going to pick it up a little bit. And do the candle breaths. Here we go. On your last one, just breathe out really long and then breathe right back in through the nose, out through the mouth. Keep your attention under your feet and just keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and let your body balance. Yeah, and feel what that feels like as you open your eyes. And then just walk around and see if you feel taller. And if you do, that's because your bones actually shifted and you got a chiropractic adjustment. And you can feel what it feels like if you feel more confident. See if you feel more confident as you walk around. See if you feel more enlivened, sort of like the excitement feeling, but yet relaxed at the same time.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so the body has moved energy inside of you, and you kept your attention low in your body, and then the body started to pump this energy through your breathing and created a quantum transformation in the moment, which moved the bones in your body, so now you might feel like, well, I grew an inch, and you'll feel more confident and more enlivened, and yet you're just at peace. Just if you close your eyes, it's like you're in meditation already. You don't have to try. It's just there.
Yeah, but still excited and relaxed at the same time. I've done that breath a couple of times in the morning. So, before I've started my day, and it's really shifted the whole day. And it's an amazing thing to do. So if you practice this with us, you can use this, you can use it every morning, just kind of keep this segment handy. and use that in the morning until you learn it, and then use it to really energize yourself during the day. Because I found that to be one, very grounding, but it's enlivening to the body. It refreshes the mind. It refreshes everything. And it really, for me, kind of moves everything into an alignment that if I move forward then in the day from that state, it's a much better day.
Absolutely. You could wake up on the wrong side of the bed and have, disaster happen. And you could wake
Yes.
up on the right side of the bed and have it go a totally different way. And the neat thing is, with quantum, you can wake up on the wrong side of the bed and instantly put yourself on the right side and just have the great day anyway.
There you go. Anytime you're starting to flip to the wrong side, try this and flip back to the right side. Well, thank you so much, Joshua. It is always so much fun talking with you. And I want people to know that they can find ways to get a hold of you or check out your website, check out your programs on conversationsfromtheedge.net. Just scroll down, find Joshua. And there are multiple links there. There's a link to his Facebook group and a link to the website, a link to a free gift. But there's also a link to a program that he has that I really, truly love. For me, this program is the kind of thing that is our template for how we can operate optimally in this emerging era that we're coming into, because we're leaving this era where things have worked a certain way in society, in our bodies, in our expectations, in education, in everything. And we're moving toward this place where of a lot of unknowns, that everything's going to begin to work differently. And if you are coming into that from a place of fear, just like we were talking about earlier, like that really shuts you down. But this program really helps you to utilize these energies that are available and these ways of operating that are available, that I think are going to be kind of the template for how we begin to move forward and create in this new unknown era. So can you tell us a little bit about that program before we sign off?
Absolutely. This program has 3 different things that no other program offers. And the first thing is a paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. So first of all, it offers an opportunity to work in the quantum model versus working in a Newtonian model. Now, we're all used to the Newtonian model. That's what we live in. That's how we respond and react in our normal everyday life. But a quantum model opens up new possibilities so that things can happen quicker, easier, and in a more enjoyable way. And it's much more powerful. So that's the paradigm shift. We're dealing in this program, we're coming from a perspective of the quantum model. So everything is designed with that in mind. So it's very powerful. Then there's an energy shift, and this program uses quantum energy transformation, and quantum energy transformation uses much higher levels of change. Most programs work at the levels of strategy or beliefs. We work at the levels of identity, spirituality, purpose, beingness. We work at all of these higher levels, and when you work at those higher levels of change, then all the beliefs and all the strategies, all the things change underneath it, and that's the energy shift that we work at. So you can become a person who no longer requires the problem that you no longer want.
Yes, absolutely.
And then there's a transformation shift, and the transformation shift is that instead of working at the slower experiences, such as talk therapy and that kind of thing, it takes a very long time to make a very big change, which basically takes 40 bits of information. 40 bits of information moves when you're in your mind. When you're in your body, 4 million bits of information moves. So you can move energy so much quicker when you're in your body. And we're moving energy so fast, you have the ability to actually work at more than one aspect at a time. Now, many modalities work one aspect at a time. And believe you me, that it just certainly is not for me. But being able to work on them all at once, it's just a dream. I believe that the simple things work. So my programs are all designed in a very simple way. This program called I Am Limitless is very simple to do, and it's extremely powerful. And what makes it powerful are those 3 things that I just mentioned. We have the ability to shift our energy and feel like we're limitless. And if you just did the exercise that we just did just now, you feel a little bit of that. You feel a little bit of that limitlessness inside of your blood, inside of your veins, inside of your arms and hands. And you're like, yes, I feel so good. And you feel that feeling taller. Imagine feeling this all the time. My clients, they feel amazing all the time. And it's like normal for them. And that's new for so many people. But we're moving into that energy right now where these possibilities are available to us.
Yeah, and how exciting to begin to take advantage of those. So, yes, check out that program. It's amazing for what we're moving into as individuals and collectively. So, again, thanks so much, Joshua, for taking the time today. It's been great talking with you, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation, which I'm sure is going to be even more exciting than what we've already been talking about, because there's so many things that we can talk about. I love all of the ideas that you have and the things that you're into. I think that's just fascinating.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast.
I also wanted you to know that I am talking with some of my Conversations from the Edge guests and other interesting people on Clubhouse. So if you are on Clubhouse, then please look me up. It's Christine Madera. And that's Christine Madera with a K, Kristine, Madera, like a mad era, like the one that we're in, Madera. Check me out, find out my events, because I'll be adding them as we move along. So I would love to have you as part of our conversation. This is your host, Christine Madera. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation from the edge of consciousness. You can find all our conversations at conversationsfromtheedge.net. You'll also find links to schedule a private conversation with me or any of my friends, as well as tools to help you expand your own consciousness and explore what's possible for you outside the boundaries of your current perceptions. Feel free to use this podcast to start your own conversation by sharing it with friends, on social media, in your blog, or even in your own podcast. And as always, live the adventure of pushing your own edge. It's the most amazing adventure there is.